Hoorah.
I
What a
consent.
fun what a fun movie. All right, let's talk about Insidious. When I was a teenager in the early 90s, I watched a lot of movies over and over again on cable. Like the ones that I watched the most that come immediately to mind are Tremors, Aliens, Death Becomes Her, They Live, Big Trouble in Little China, Gremlins. Also in the non-horror category, Soap Dish, Ferris Bueller's Day Off, and When Harry Met Sally. I still have movies to this day that I can watch over and over again, but there's something about youth where we really love repetition of our favorite stories. And growing up in the cable TV era, 1980 to 2020, RIP, meant that there was no shortage of easy to watch, fast-paced comedies, romances, and or horror flicks. Sometimes all three of those things. And some of these movies like Aliens or Soap Dish should really be like straight to DVD schlock fests, but there's an art, literally the art of filmmaking, to elevating B movie dollar theater content to eminently rewatchable masterpieces. As you know, if you've listened to our show for a while, watching horror movies is pretty new for me, though I watched a few back in the day, like the ones I mentioned earlier, mostly mild horror movies, ones that were kind of freaky, a little violent, but mostly just matinee fun to pass a Sunday early afternoon. I wonder about the kids who were teenagers in the final throes of the cable TV era, those born in the mid to late 90s. Like, what easy to digest horrors were they watching over and over again when, or even if, they popped on their parents' direct TV? Based on what we've seen for the show, I have to think candidates for this, people like watching movies over and over again in like 2012, 2011, I have to think Drag Me to Hell, Coraline, Attack the Block, Jennifer's Body, Cloverfield, and this week's film, Insidious. These would all be perfect weekend afternoon cable viewing. Each of these movies is fast paced, clever, fun, a little scary, but in a PG-13 wink wink sort of way. And like Tremors or They Live, these late aughts, early teens films like Drag Me to Hell or Insidious are schlocky as hell, but never really feel that way because they're made so perfectly. Hi, Cecil.
Hi, Jeffrey.
What horror movie did you watch the most when you were a kid?
When I was a kid, when I was growing up, what horror movie did I watch most when I was a kid growing up? I'm trying to think back through like what was on USA Up All Night
Oh yeah,
the most that I always seem to watch. Like it's on the tip of my brain. Um,
Basket Case.
no, like movie, like those were like a little too subversive, I think, to
Okay.
make it like because there was always like they showed two movies
Mm-hmm.
because it started at like 10 o'clock or so, and there was kind of like the early show and the late show, and like I couldn't be bothered to stay up to the late show usually, so it was like something a little more mild. But I think things like Meet the Creeps, maybe.
Mm.
No, Return of the Living Dead. I think I watched that one a lot. It was
Oh
like cut
yes.
to ribbons because of all the nudity,
Mm-hmm.
but it was pretty popular.
Was Return of the Living Dead, which I still haven't seen, saving myself for the show. Was that the one where they invented
Yes,
brains? Okay,
yes.
that's amazing. That's so good.
Yeah, I saw that one a lot. I also feel like I just saw like Nightmare on Elm Street a lot. Like just that
Oh
first one
sure,
was just on a lot.
yeah. Yeah, I think Dream Warriors was the only Nightmare on Elm Street I had seen when I was a kid because I think I mentioned in our episode about it that my stepsister Marcia loved Nightmare on Elm Street and she had
Oh
number
yeah,
three. So every now and then I would come in and she'd be watching that or Dirty Dancing were the two
it's a
movies
favorite.
she watched a ton
Yeah.
of.
But I mean, honestly, like Tremors, I saw Tremors
Oh my
so
God.
much,
Yes.
so many times.
Yes. But this, so Insidious, I didn't know anything about this movie. I knew it was James Wan. I knew that we
Yeah,
had another Patrick Wilson, but not
yeah,
Ed and Lorraine Warren adventure.
yes,
Uh, but in a similar, it does feel like an Ed and Lorraine type of movie, only a little
yeah,
bit more like fun matinee sort of thing.
yes.
And yeah, this is I use this phrase a lot, and I want to find a different way of saying it, but it's such a short version, which is to say, like, it feels YA to me.
Okay,
And
sure.
I just mean like it's accessible for all ages, right? Like there's a sort of like type of YA novel, like a John Green novel,
Yeah,
that is like eminently accessible for all people. Like you could be a 40-year-old like I was on a train reading Fault in Our Stars, being like, this I totally relatable. Young
yeah,
people still totally relatable. And this isn't a movie necessarily about the young people, but it feels like young people spooky horror, very accessible, very fun.
sure. Well, I mean, it's bloodless.
Uh-huh.
There's no gore.
No.
There's like it is this movie. Upon watching it this time, I was like, this movie is entirely made up of jump scares.
Yeah.
That's all.
And
That's what it is.
and also it even opens with the montage to open the film with creepy faces in the background, right?
Hmm.
And that's the sort of stuff as a kid, the type of horror that I was like, yeah, I can't watch. Let me see it again. Yeah.
Yeah. Like this is like it's like Goosebumps, and then this is like the next level. Like when you've graduated past Goosebumps, you move on to this.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. Jump scares, creepy faces in the background of things,
Yeah.
and creepy twins, the doll people, the doll
The doll,
family.
yeah.
Yeah.
Stuff that moves around your house,
Yeah.
doors opening,
Yeah.
doors closing, more
There
jump
was a
scares.
I need to look this up. I remember in like fifth grade, I checked out a book from my Porter Elementary School library called The Dollhouse Murders,
Oh my.
which I just remember spooking the pee out of me. But I loved it. I loved it so much, and I thought about that book whenever I was watching this movie. Maybe I'll go back and revisit that one.
Oh,
Well, this movie opens with we see like a boy in bed, and it's like distorted, it's I think this is shot on digital, but like they've done an
yeah.
Instagram filter to make it look like Super 8, high contrast filmmaking, but it's like a boy in bed, and the camera tours the house at night. We've got landing on like a creepy face of a creepy old woman in the
Yeah.
window, and then like psycho like strings. Right,
Yeah.
right, right.
Yeah. Like the soundtrack is nothing but it's just loud strings, loud, scary strings.
I was thinking about so I've seen now for James Wan, I've seen Saw,
Okay.
and but I think about Malignant, the
Malignant. Yeah.
Malignant, and this movie both share a lot in common in there, and even Saw to some extent, which is just playing on our most basic horror trope fears and using them masterfully.
Yes.
Right. It's like a chef doing like just basic new American style food,
Exactly.
but doing it perfectly. So, yeah, we've we were gonna tell the story about a young couple. This is Josh and Renee Lambert,
Yeah.
and they've recently moved into a new home.
I love the credit sequence for
Oh,
this,
yes.
which is like a series of like black and white shots of, you know, empty spaces in a new home with
Hmm.
boxes. But every once in a while, things start to move,
Hmm.
or there's like footprints in a hallway. But
Yes.
not every time, just enough so you're like, wait, did I just see that? Oh, what was that?
Yes.
But it also kind of tells the story of like, this is about a family moving into a new house.
Yeah.
Set up, perfect.
Hmm.
Like I love it when a good credit sequence is an art unto itself, but also furthers the movie. So we,
Yeah.
we're ready to land in the movie.
Yes. You bringing that up makes me think, my intro should have been about 3 Men and a Baby. Do you
Hmm.
remember the
But
ghost story
yes,
about that movie? And
yes, that
there's a
just
there's a clip where the camera pans through the apartment and you see
there's like
the
somebody
sh
standing in their window.
yeah. And the story was so the like, but I remember this from like the 80s, and we didn't even have the internet to go find the picture of
No,
it. But yeah, people were being like, that was the story of a kid who had unalived himself from this apartment building, and it was his ghost. And I think it did turn out to be like a promotional cutout of Ted Danson that somebody had
yes,
left in the window.
yeah.
Anyways, the ghost of cardboard Ted Danson
Ted
haunts this place.
Danson walks these halls to this day. Whenever Ted Danson walks, he walks alone.
Okay, so they have Josh and Renee. This is Rose Byrne and Patrick Wilson,
Yep.
and they have their three kids. They've got two boys, Dalton and
Hmm.
Foster,
Hmm.
and they've got their infant daughter,
Baby.
Callie, baby. So, we've got this first night in the new house. No one can sleep except for Dad, who's snoring hard.
Hmm.
Mom goes downstairs, starts just looking through the photo albums. Such a cheap setup. Like when I can't sleep, I'm like, yeah, let me go look at the wedding
Yeah,
album.
she like literally she puts like four books onto a shelf and she's like, "Whew, I'm done with that." Oh,
Uh-huh.
look, a photo album. I'm gonna sit down and look at this. But Dalton gets is like, "Mommy, I don't like my room."
Mm-hmm.
Oh, here, come and look at photo albums with me. Look, here's me. That's me. You're old, mommy. You're like, shut the fuck up, kid. You don't even fucking know what old means. Where's pictures of daddy? Oh, daddy doesn't pose for pictures.
Well, that's information we just got.
He's very shy.
He's bad at albums.
Yeah.
Chaos in the house in the morning, boys fighting. They don't have the dishes for the cereal. Foster's got to eat it out of a mug or
Yeah.
whatever.
R
Uh,
Renee is just like on the phone trying to like hook up the telephone system or something
yeah,
while on the phone. I don't know.
yeah. So in all this like family chaos sort of situation, this is she pops out into the living room and finds the books. The four books she put up on the shelf have now been knocked to the floor.
It's like, you guys, if you want to play with mommy's books, put them back. And they're like, we don't want to play with mommy's books. Mommy's books are boring.
So Josh is a teacher, public school
Is
teacher,
he?
barely.
Is he? Or is he just hallucinating that he goes to work every day?
I like that the only thing we ever see him do at his job is just sit at his desk and rub his temples,
That's
which,
it.
having been a teacher, I can say that's like 50% of the job.
Is that most of it?
Yeah, it's like between classes, you're just like, oh.
I also love later when he's like, oh, I have to stay late and grade papers. He stays until like 11 o'clock at night. I'm like, the school day ended at 3:30, sir.
Also,
You can take papers home to grade.
yeah, I was just thinking about like the lab techs from Contagion. Those
Yeah.
people have to stay late at the office to do their job.
Yes,
Teachers can bring papers home to
that's
grade.
right. Yeah. You were like label the picture of a cat with a cat. You're like, I think we can transfer this. This doesn't need to be done on site.
Uh,
Like,
this movie also pretty quickly sets up the fact that this house is old. Like all of the floorboards and the stairs creak.
it's
There is
also
they've
it's also
already
just,
set up their grandfather clock, which
oh my God,
ticks
that fuck that
so
clock.
loud.
Fuck that clock. Like, I know that the tagline for this movie is like, it's not the house that's haunted. I was like, no, it's that fucking grandfather clock.
Hmm.
That's your problem.
The fact that there's this grandfather clock that ticks so loudly, I think it's what
Mm-mm.
makes it so much fun is that James Wan is like, fuck it, I'm just putting the most basic tropes in and I'm
Yeah.
gonna do them to perfection. And he does because that clock is upsetting, it's disorienting, it's maddening. And that's what we're trying to create here. So there are some like that day. Oh, also I forgot to mention that Renee, not that it's super important, but I just want to mention her job is songwriting.
She's a songwriter.
Yeah, she's working on some new
So he's
music.
a high school teacher and she's a songwriter.
This is the
And
best
how the
House
fuck
Hunters
did they
episode,
afford this house in Los
right?
Angeles?
That was the House Hunters thing was always like I draw pictures of rhinoceroses and
Hmm.
I look at clouds. Our budget is 850,000. I'm like,
Right?
what?
I was like, because this house is huge. That's their first problem,
Yes.
is that this house is too big.
Yeah.
It's automatically creepy.
100%. Yeah,
Like this house just swallows them up.
yeah. So she starts hearing crazy noises upstairs. Like it's a combination of like creaking,
Yeah.
thumping, and groaning.
Uh-huh. Okay.
And
Sure. Like again, super easy horror tropes.
Hmm.
But also, it's like go with the hits, man.
Yeah.
I was laying in bed the other night, and it's like early into winter, like we're into the like autumn into winter months. And man, I'm laying in bed. It's all quiet late at night, and I'm reading, and I'm hearing all sorts of noises that I have never heard before.
Uh-huh.
And my logical brain goes, it's the house settling. It's the heat turning on.
Uh-huh.
But there's part of me that's like, I feel the need to turn on all the lights and FaceTime with somebody until dawn just to make sure that I'm okay and
Uh-huh.
not being swallowed up by evil house ghosts.
Well, there is something to this attic in this house, and the sounds lead her up the attic stairs.
You know?
And so we set up one that there is a string light that lights the whole attic. The It is 10 feet off the ground and with
Yep.
a cord to turn it on that is 3 inches long. So she has to climb a rickety ass ladder to get to it.
Also, when they bought this house, did the previous tenants not move anything out of the attic? Is
I'm
that a
guess.
normal thing? Because this is like a horror movie trope that there's always just like tons of stuff in an attic
Yeah.
that doesn't belong to you. That's been like the previous five tenants or owners have just left random chairs slash wedding dresses slash
Uh,
satanic objects in your attic.
yeah.
But is that real? Because I feel like if you buy a house in the year of our Lord 2020, like people clean that shit out, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Like you take that to the dump or down to the curb. You're
Right.
like, oh no, this rickety ladder or this box full of demons. I don't need this anymore.
Yeah. Feel like it's impossible to move out of a house without leaving a couple of things behind. But like leaving that much shit in an attic where there's like chairs and shelves and shit, you're like,
Yeah.
no, you got to get that.
It's like
Also,
you
how'd
just
you get that
forgot that there's
chair
a
up
whole other
there?
floor. Yeah, you forgot there's a whole other floor to the house.
Yeah,
You're
no.
like, oh shit. Oh, you know what? Just close the black door into the black Satan door into the attic. They'll never know.
But then the creepy ass furnace in the corner of the attic turns itself on seemingly, and she's like, oh, well, that was the noise. Of course,
Oh,
I'm
yeah.
done.
See, again, this movie is entirely made of jump scares.
It
Movie is
is.
like, it's like, are you scared of super quiet moments that end in a super loud moment? Have I got a film for you?
Yeah. And there's also like I would also say there's a bunch of quiet jump scares too that are just
Yeah.
like just suddenly a thing appears. Like I think the famous image is the red face demon guy
Yeah.
appearing behind Patrick Wilson.
But even that is punctuated with like
Oh,
strings,
strings. Yeah.
strings,
Yeah.
and then Barbara Hershey just flipping out.
Yeah. So that night, family's all home and Dalton is playing upstairs and the attic door creaks open and he goes upstairs. He tries to climb the shitty ladder to turn on the light, but the rung breaks and he falls down and hits his head. But he seems fine. Like
Yeah.
he's like, ugh.
He's like, oh yeah, kind of like, oh, I banged my head, but he sees something
Yes. And he
in the
starts,
corner.
he starts screaming and they run up to find him screaming and they're like, they just think he injured himself. Do you hurt your leg? Yeah, yeah. Okay, well, let's get you to bed. No,
Okay.
don't
Oh,
be in the attic.
you got a goose egg on your noggin.
Yeah.
I'm gonna kiss it, make it better.
But earlier, like Renee had been doing her song composition stuff and music composition, and she'd been working with her sheet music, and then that evening she couldn't find it anywhere. And then she discovers in this moment, it's all back up in the attic. Who
That's
moved it?
weird. That's weird.
Who moved my
Maybe there's
sheet
a
music?
music producer in your attic. They're like, "Where's my new hits?"
So that next morning, everyone's down for breakfast, chaotic breakfast again, but Dalton's not down there.
Hmm.
When Dad goes to check on him, he is not waking up.
This
And
is
we,
wild
uh-huh.
because it's like next shot, hospital, your son is in a coma, but it's a magical coma.
Yes, his scans are normal. He has no brain damage. We've never seen anything like it. 3 months later,
Three
boom.
months later, Jesus Christ.
Wow. And this movie came out before Obamacare. So how much
It,
was,
like you have at-home care
yeah.
for this kid? Oh my God. And you're a songwriter
And he's
and
a,
you're a high
he's a,
school teacher? Who the fuck? Man,
th-
y'all must have come from some wealthy parents.
yeah, this has got to be Massachusetts, right?
It feels like Los Angeles. This is
Yeah, it
very
does. I
like
know.
it.
I just meant like higher
Oh,
union
okay,
pay for
sure.
teachers. Yeah. Yeah, this definitely feels West Coasty.
I saw palm trees. I just
Yeah,
assume it's
okay.
LA.
Yeah. 3 months later, nurses showing mom how to work the intubation machine thing and the hookups and the IV and how to do all of this stuff for young Dalton. And of course, mom can't concentrate on her songwriting, and now she's hearing weird fucking baby sounds on the monitor.
Okay. Now,
Uh-huh.
I hate baby monitors in horror movies. I mean, I love them,
Yeah, very helpful
but
devices.
they're so scary
Yes.
because of this movie. It's I don't know if it's because of this movie, but this movie is that like I heard something weird from the other room that is electronically amplified in the important baby room. Let me listen in very close. Wait, louder, louder. And it's just someone going, kill it. Well,
I
I need to get the number of this nanny service.
I just hire, you can afford in-home care for this child. I think you could also afford to have a your own personal like sound engineer. I think you could hook that baby up with like a lav mic so
Yeah.
that the sound quality is better.
Yeah.
That's all I'm saying. I just think about like how good the microphones and speakers are on like a standard iPhone or
Yeah.
Android or something. And like why has baby monitor technology not reached this yet?
So that way later, when shit does go down, then dad can be like, I don't know, police signals just get mixed up in there.
Yes.
It's nothing.
Yeah. But yeah, also that voice becomes very clear saying, there's nothing you can do.
Yeah.
I want it. Give
I
me.
want it.
I want it now.
I want
Uh,
it. It's tricksy little baby.
hmm
You
I
remind me of the babe.
I I was laughing really hard at this because I just I mean I loved it too because it's so creepy. It's such a good scare.
Yeah.
But that's such like mustache twirling villain.
Yeah.
I want it. Give it to
I
me
know. Can you
now.
imagine like just standing over it, be like, I want it. I can't touch it yet.
The villain just announcing every feeling that
Of
they have.
course.
But when she races upstairs to Callie's room, there's no one in there.
Baby's crying. Nobody's up there.
They learn from Foster that he's scared of Dalton being like across the hall from him because I don't like it when he walks around at night.
You're like, sweetheart,
That boy's
that's
in a
not your
magic
brother.
coma. Yeah.
Yeah. Your brother's in a magic coma.
uh,
So I don't know. Maybe I don't think he does that though.
this is one of the creepier, scarier moments to me as they show a shot of Foster at night and okay, okay, okay. We already talked about the grandfather clock. I want to talk about
Uh-huh.
that fucking heart monitor
Oh
on
my
his
God. Can you
hookup that
imagine? Yeah. All night long.
uh, okay. Surely there is a sleep mode for this thing.
Right? Like only if an emergency the alarm goes off mode.
Right. And so Foster, both the boys with their door sleeping with their doors open, Foster is a little unnerved, so he gets up to go close his bedroom door. He takes forever to close that fucking thing.
Yeah, he does. I know. It's like he does the thing where he like closes it halfway and then looks around it and then like makes eye contact with the camera as he shuts it. You gotta rip off that Band-Aid, kid. Just shut the door, get back in bed.
Yep. Okay, but it's that same night. Josh and Renee are in bed, and we're kind of having that husband doesn't believe the wife about the creepy thing. Those scanners just pick up all kinds of radio signals. You're probably hearing late night sports radio on the
That's
thing.
it.
I want it. I want that NFL
I want
championship.
that championship ring.
Uh-huh. Give me it.
Gimme.
But then they hear a banging, like knocking at the front
Yeah.
door. That's scary as shit. Like somebody
Again,
banging on your door in the middle of the night.
at like 1
Fuck
o'clock in the
that.
morning. Mm-mm.
That's happened to me one time before, and it's the only time I was ever like, I get why people have guns.
Yeah. I
Like in
told
that moment.
I don't know if I told you, but what happened to me the other like a
Was
few
this
weeks
a
ago?
pizza thing?
Yeah, the mysterious pizza.
Uh-huh. Tell
The
it
ghost
again.
ghost pizza. No, it was like 11:30 at night and I'm all tucked up in bed, reading my little book, and I hear knocking at the door and I'm like, "Oh no." Like I belly crawled through my own home. And then I stood like at the door wondering if I should open it or not, long enough that whoever was there clearly left. And I opened the door and there's a pizza sitting on my front doorstep. Ghost pizza.
And then you ate the pizza and everything was fine.
That's not what happens. It was no ghost pizza.
Yeah,
Innocuous.
absolutely not. Absolutely not.
No.
Well,
Right into
oh,
the trash that pizza went.
Josh runs downstairs to check out the door, but he can't see anyone outside. He's like, who's there? He doesn't open the door. He's just like,
He's like me. He's like, I can't just open the door and look
no.
outside. You've got to like peek out,
Yeah.
get a flashlight, because of course they're like I love that the demons are like bad electrical contractors.
Uh-huh.
They're like, you know what, we're gonna fuck up your wiring first and foremost.
Yeah. There's a lot of there's a lot of like poltergeist vibe to this. Like this feels like
There's a lot of there's I mean like
poltergeist
this
30 years
movie is
later.
yeah, like very like and they even have kind of some homage moments to Poltergeist. Like when Specs and Tucker get in.
Yes.
And it also has some homage moments to The Exorcist. You
Hmm.
know, so that moment where Renee is up in the attic and she's like, and then there's like that sort of flame that's the furnace. I mean, that's clearly taken from The Exorcist,
Yes.
except in, you know, The Exorcist, it's like the devil made a candle flare up, which is way scarier.
Uh-huh. So while he's realizing there's no one out there, he does two things. Locks deadbolts the
Yep.
door and puts the chain
Yep.
bolt on the door and turns on the alarm.
Yep. Smart.
Then Callie is crying upstairs. Renee goes into her room. There's a face hovering over that baby. She
Yikes.
screams. Josh runs upstairs. That face is gone. And he, of course, doesn't believe her. Like, you're just seeing things. But then the alarm goes off, the house
Yeah.
alarm, and he runs back downstairs. And that front door is wide open.
And the chain is like just swinging back and forth.
Yeah.
And then he must do a room to room search of every goddamn dark room in this scary dark house.
While holding a fire poker.
Oh my God.
Uh-huh. Fire poker is a pretty formidable weapon. I mean, it's
That's
a
a pretty
little
good one.
unwieldy, but that like three different points coming
Yeah,
off of it.
I
Yeah.
like the jab and like you can jab and also swing with it.
If you land a like a downward blow
Yeah.
on a head,
Yeah.
that they're done for. Yeah.
Yeah.
So this is where we start getting into Josh keeps telling Renee, "Hey, hon, I'm staying late at work. Gotta grade these papers." I'm like,
Stop.
"No,
Now, stop.
you're fucking the English teacher is what's
That's
happening."
right.
Yeah.
And Renee's just like, well, he's like, well, that's just, you know, it's how it is. I'm like, is it? Like, you're a high school teacher.
Yeah.
Like, that's a hard job for the hours of this time to this time.
Hmm.
And then, but it's not like, what are you doing? You like building dioramas? What are you like the coach of the high school football team or
Yeah, is
something?
he doing like full lit analysis of
Yeah.
every single paper he receives? I
Yes.
just don't understand. But he's clearly like just he's in avoidance mode. Like
Yeah.
he doesn't want to go home because life is hard and scary
Yeah.
and he doesn't know how to deal with it and doesn't know how to confront what's happening. Renee, of course, is like she tells the nurse like I feel like he's been in this coma for so long that everyone's just kind of given up on him. They're just like,
Yeah.
well, keep him hooked to the machine. Nothing we can do. Like nobody is investigating
Yeah. No.
what else can happen.
There's no amount of research or anything like that. And
Yeah.
also it's like this is the thing where they're starting to introduce like Josh is just zoning out for hours at a
Yeah.
time. Because we know this because it goes to that weird sort of blue saturated filtered look. And then he like sort of snaps to and it's like nighttime.
Yeah. You get the sense that he's losing whole swaths of his day.
He was just on TikTok all day.
Yeah. I mean,
Just
he
he
is
lost like
experiencing the 90-minute TikTok lapse
he lost 6 hours on TikTok.
until that very gentle lady comes on and says, hey, I know you're enjoying your time here on TikTok. Are you not sleeping? Always depressing when you get that video. So he and Renee kind of have a showdown. He's very much like, oh well, I'm scared too because he's my son as well. And
He's like,
she's like,
Art,
but
yeah, but you're not, you leave at 6 in the morning, you come back at 11:30 at night.
yeah. And he's like, I don't avoid stressful situations. It's just I deal with them in my own fucking way, which is to avoid them.
Classic.
and, and then she says, "We'll deal with this because," and then she hands him what she discovered in Dalton's room after the nurse had left. She saw blood on the sheets, and when she
This is
pulled the
interesting.
sheets
This is
back,
weird. Yeah, it's like the Wilson handprint,
yeah, she discovered Tom
but
Hanks's bloody
demony.
handprint on the
Yeah.
volleyball, but on the bed sheet. Yeah, she had discovered like a red demonic handprint on the
But
sheets.
it's weird. This is one that I had to look up because it's not blood. It's lipstick. Because this
Oh,
demon
uh-huh.
uses lipstick on his face.
Do we get more of that in
No,
later
we
films?
don't. No. But if you go to the IMDb page, the demon is listed as Lipstick Face Demon. Now, listen,
Uh-huh.
I am no expert in the occult,
No.
but Lipstick Face Demon, huh? What level of hell does this demon guard?
It's like the fifth, fourth or fifth.
Five and a half, five and
Yeah.
three quarters. It's like you put lipstick on your teeth. This
Yeah.
demon is coming to take you away.
Yeah, you don't want to put him at the first circle, and
No,
he definitely cannot be at the ninth circle.
no, he's
So
not up there with like Brutus and the
no,
tyrants or whatever.
he's somewhere in four or five,
Yeah,
I
he's
gotta
in
think.
mid range.
Yeah.
But this is one of those things where it's like, I said this movie, this is our PG-13, right? We've got
Yeah.
PG-13 creepy kids.
Hmm.
So this is like the images are really spooky, but they're more mysterious than they are like scary or
Hmm.
bloody. So like it's not even blood. And the
Yeah.
fact that because I was like, what is that? Like, how is there blood? Is he Oh, that's lips. Wait, huh? Then I went to this whole thing. It's like, oh, there's a whole mythology because there's four other movies because this movie made so goddamn much money.
Yeah.
This movie was made for like $1.5 million. dollars.
Wow.
You know how much money it made at the box office?
Did it clear like 250 million?
$100 million. dollars.
Wow. I mean, that's incredible.
Like this was one of the most profitable and most popular movies of 2010. And I think this is one of those movies that when you're in your intro, the reason this movie was like ubiquitous, it was like everywhere
Yeah.
because it was made for so little money. It has good actors.
Hmm.
It doesn't have like people with their fucking faces hanging off, so you can kind of put it on at, you're sort of like it's kind of that PG-13, put it on a slumber party for
Yeah.
your high school kids, maybe your middle school kids, if you're a cool parent, and you're like, I don't know, that's scary, but they can handle it.
Yeah. And I also think like with like thinking about Malignant too, it's that it's spooky, it's scary, Malignant's way more intense than this movie is.
Malignant's more violent,
Malignant is way more
but
violent, but
almost
it's
but
but
almost like
it's
superhero violent.
there's a weird combination in both movies of like just effective scares,
Yeah.
but also like a level of camp
Yeah.
because he's playing with such basic tropes in both movies that like this whole finding the sheet thing, like all I could think is, what was this demon do? Whether it's blood or lipstick, why did he just slide his hand under this boy's foot and just be
Right.
like, stamp? Like, what is that some type of like, is that like some bureaucratic red tape? Like, you have to stamp
Mine.
mine.
I wants it. Like
Give me it.
I feel like James Wan is like the straight horror version of like Ryan Murphy.
Yeah,
You know,
agreed.
like Ryan Murphy takes it to the like gay campy level, and
Uh-huh.
James Wan is the like classic horror
Yep.
camp level. You know, it's like your classic Halloween scares just
Yeah.
done really, really good, really well.
Yeah. And in that way it feels like classic old Hollywood sort of
Yeah,
thing, right? And it's Spielbergian, right? It is
absolutely.
movies for the masses, well
Yeah,
made.
yeah.
So anyways, so now Renee
She's
is
like,
fully
explain this. You
she's
got
fully
your
red
son's
pilled.
got lipstick all
Yeah,
over his bed sheets.
in the shape of a hand. And but she's like fully like there is something supernatural happening.
Yeah,
Josh isn't quite there yet, but there there's sort of a thing where both she and Josh have had moments where her in bed that night, but him earlier when he was at the school dozing off, where they have the vision of the boy in bed, which we presume is Dalton.
yeah. In their
Um,
previous house or something like that. Yeah.
yeah. But these things like startling them awake. But when she wakes up from this dream, there are like shadows of people marching back and forth past her window.
There's just somebody like just walking around. Now this is where the like the geography of this house is wild to me. I was like, aren't they on the second floor?
That's
But I
what
think
I,
there's like a
yeah,
little I don't even know what you'd call it, like a balcony,
like
but like a half
is that a
bath. I don't know.
balcony or is that like I thought maybe that their main bedroom was on the ground floor and that's the patio. But that seems
No,
unusual. Like
they're
old houses like
upstairs.
this tend to put the bedrooms
They're
upstairs.
definitely
Yeah.
upstairs. I don't know, but there is somebody, yeah, just marching across their window.
Yeah. And then finally, Nick Cave jumps through this window and attacks her. I didn't catch this
Absolutely.
character's name, but it is
Nick
Nick.
Cave, it's like Nick Cave meets like a longshore deep sea fisherman.
I'm just now looking at the just now looking at the credits from Wikipedia. I didn't really pay attention too far down the list when we get to long-haired fiend,
Yeah,
lipstick-faced demon,
yeah.
doll girls, dancing boy, whistling ghost dad, top hat guy.
I claim Whistling Ghost Dad.
I'd like to be the doll girls or the dancing boy
Top hat guy.
actually.
I feel like this is like a make your own Monopoly, James Wan Monopoly.
Yes. I'm the doll girls. No, you're always the doll girls. I don't want to be
Anything
dancing
but
boy.
lipstick face demon. Jesus. Bad luck.
He's the iron of the
Yeah, that's
Monopoly
right.
board
Nobody
piece.
wants it. I always wanted to be the thimble.
Oh, Thimble is good. I of course wanted the dog or the car. Like those were the two
Oh,
that
those
I
are
wanted.
good. Those are good ones. No, I love the thimble.
Thimble's good.
It had
Thimble's real
weight
good.
to it.
Yeah. Okay. Anyways, when Josh shows up, the giant man in the overcoat, Nick Cave is gone.
And he's like, and this is weird because these ghosts, like, I think it's in this scene, like, he picks her up.
Yeah.
Like, these are not phantasms.
No.
This is like a home invader.
Absolutely.
And his face is kind of like CGI spectral a little bit, but it's way more like it's not ghosty, which I
No.
find is like really weird.
No, and I do like that it gives us some like literal weight to like the thimble. It gives us some actual
Yeah.
weight to the ghosts that they're not just going to be specters that keep you up at night that can only drift through walls. Like, oh, what are you going to do? Ghost punch me?
Yeah.
And
I
this
know,
guy's
right?
like, fuck yeah,
You're
I
going to
will.
rearrange my books.
Oh no.
You can steal my sheet music and put it in a place where it doesn't belong.
I like what she says to Josh because Josh is again like he can't believe that what she's saying happened.
Yeah.
And her line is, "Don't you dare not believe me."
Oof.
I'm
Yeah.
like, that's how I feel. Yeah.
Right.
And she says, we are leaving this
Yeah.
house.
She's like, I will not spend another night here.
Fine.
This is also what this is like. I love it,
Hmm.
but the reality of the situation is like, cut to new house with the for sale sign sold out front of the new house. I was like, do you know how long it takes?
Okay, I
Do you
rewound this.
know how, like, if you are like, there's ghosts in my motherfucking house, I will not spend another night here. From soup to nuts, how long it would take to get the fuck out of a house and find a new house and get the fuck in that house,
Yeah,
that's so long.
it's months and months and months. Well, I will say this. I did rewind. That house says for lease.
Okay,
And so they're
that does make
renting
more
this
sense.
home, which still takes a bit of time.
But no, but but see, that's a smart move because you're like, listen, I don't care for losing money on this deal. I'm getting out of the ghost house.
Yes.
And I respect her for that so fucking hard. I'd be like,
Yes.
I am at the Motel 6. You know where to find me.
Yes. Well, here's where we meet Lorraine, who is Josh's mom, played by Barbara Hershey.
Barbara Hershey.
Incredible. Adore her.
Yeah, she's amazing. She's a force of nature.
Yeah. So she's helping Renee kind of unpack all of their stuff and get into this new house. And she sees a photo of the whole family. She's like, wow, I can't believe you got Josh to hold still long enough for a photograph.
Like,
Uh-oh.
oh,
We're gonna have to fuck. We're gonna have to
yeah,
learn why he can't take pictures.
I know.
God damn it. So I know the movie's not over till they explain that.
No. It's also the like, like Renee is like, I just feel like I don't know. I'm just so great. And I love Lorraine is like, listen, honey, no matter nobody knows what you're going through. Don't give a fuck about me. Don't give a fuck about your husband. I was like, oh, she's seen some shit.
Uh-huh.
Lorraine has. You can
Yeah.
tell.
Yep. Okay, we get to the very famous. I had one thing I had known about this movie is that it has the creepiest use of a song in a
Yes.
horror film. And I was delighted by this scene because it signals, it's not like the movie hasn't already signaled this, but this movie is the ultimate just suburban haunted house
That's it.
adventure. It's just a series of really creepy and or scary moments. And I think the creepiest part about this is before the song even starts. She like puts on her Spotify, is playing music,
Or
cleaning
she
up.
puts on a record. Yeah, she
Yeah.
puts on a record. She's listening to Led Zeppelin.
Hmm. And she's walking through the house and she passes this dancing boy standing in the
I
corner
know.
of the broom closet. I'm like, Yee!
I know. That's the
And he's
worst.
facing the wall, which is even scarier.
No, absolutely not. No,
Horror villains get paid by the hour, and that's absolutely what's
they
happening in
do.
this movie.
They're just exploring every little nook and cranny of your house.
Yeah. And suddenly the record scratches out and then is replaced by Tiny Tim's Tiptoe Through the Tulips.
But it's weird because she's like taking out the garbage.
Yes.
So it's like the minute she leaves the house, and it's kind of like one long shot where you see her like take the garbage out. We're watching her again, very poltergeist, like where Joe Beth Williams is like she's like doing things at the kitchen table, and she goes over here and she goes back, and there's like, but it's all one shot, which our brain recognizes. We're like, oh fuck, there's
Hmm.
this is pre CGI, so that shit had to actually have happened.
Hmm.
But this is like she takes the garbage, she goes outside. We hear the record change to Tiptoe Through the Tulips.
Uh-huh.
And we just know that the ghosts are frolicking
Yes.
willy-nilly in her house while she's running the recycling down to the curb. But we see her come back and she hears the music drifting through the open window.
Fuck no.
And she's like, it's ghost time. And she runs back in and the record just stops.
Yeah. But she sees this like dancing boy, like old timey, like
No.
newsy
Like
dressed,
like
like,
fucking dancing to Newsies
and he's like doing
in
a
Santa
jig.
Fe. I don't know any more of that song. I just know that that's a song in Newsies.
He's like dancing a jig in her living room, but he's
Cackling
again
like a
facing away. We never
stupid,
see his
like,
face.
tee hee hee,
Yeah.
hee hee
Actually, we
hee.
do see his face, but
Come
in
and
the
play
scene.
with me.
Yeah.
Just running around the house. Your ghost got the zoomies.
But that, my God, this is Kitten Ghost. And she follows this thing all the way upstairs. She gets into Dalton's room. The little fucker's making the rocking horse shake on its own somehow. And then it's hiding in this cabinet in his room and bursts out of it. Tee and runs out of the room.
Girl, it's not the house. I think it's the realtor.
Probably so.
I blame the realtor. You got a realtor that is only selling you ghost houses.
Mhm. So I really great scene because the next thing we see is Josh coming in the front door and he sees Renee sitting there talking with a priest. Hey, you
Well,
fucking this priest? What the fuck?
ha
Yeah,
ha
he gets
ha.
real like possessive about why she's talking to this
He's like
priest.
really dismissive. He's like,
Yeah.
oh, it's like a joke. A man comes home to find his wife with a priest. Ha ha ha, get out.
Yeah. And Lorraine says what's happening? I'm sorry. Yeah, Lorraine says
Hmm.
to Josh, "Hey, what's happening to Renee is real."
Yeah.
So the thing is, I had a dream about this house last night, and there was something there in Dalton's room, in the figure in the corner, and I asked what it wanted, and it said it was a visitor, and what it wants is Dalton.
Like for Christmas?
All I want
Or
for
like
Christmas
what I
is,
want. I'm asking Santa for
uh-huh,
your 8-year-old son.
so that I can enter the physical world once again, or for the first
Absolutely.
time.
So I can cause pain to all of humanity.
Hmm.
Dear Santa.
But this is where, as she's telling the story around the kitchen table, that the lipstick faced man appears suddenly behind Josh, and we're like, "Wah!
Also, did you grok the art that's behind him?
Oh my God!"
Because okay,
Yes.
so this scene, this shot especially is like so shocking because we've seen a lot of shadowy figures.
Hmm.
We've seen long-haired fiend. We've seen newsy. We've seen like, like normal looking ghosts, old-timey ghosts.
Yeah.
But and also this movie, the thing about it is that it's shot in this like grayscale. I
Yeah.
don't know if it really is, but everything is very like home goods, middle class beige is the
Taupe.
color scheme
Yeah.
of this movie. It's like taupe, mauve, gray, gray, blue gray.
Yeah. Everything is a gray shade if it has a color.
So when this red-faced demon appears and we
Hmm.
see it, it's in full daylight, but it's more the fact that they have this art in their dining room
Uh-huh.
that is like black.
Oh, it's like
Like it
dark gray. It's like
it's
a
like a gray
grayish. Yeah.
black expressionist painting.
Yeah. It's like, how did they afford a Rothko? I don't understand what's happening here.
It's also like the most, I mean, it's like goth as fuck, so I guess points,
Yeah.
but just seems very out of place.
No,
And
yes.
it's gorgeous for a filmmaking point of view because it really like literally frames this image of Josh with a demon on his shoulder that's
Hmm.
like super, it's like the only bright color we get in this entire fucking movie
Yeah.
is that cherry red.
Yeah.
But it just made me very conscious of like, y'all got a grandfather clock in your long ass hallway, and then you have this weird piece of like abstract art. And you're gonna look at that every night when you're eating dinner? Every night? That's bleak, yo.
It really is. This movie falls. I remember this when we started in the early 2000s was kind of like the big movement towards like everybody shifting to digital film
Yeah.
cameras. And Amelie was the first movie. I think that was like 2001 maybe. But like Amelie was the first movie I remember seeing, and I know it happened before, but where they were using like in the digital editing process, they were putting heavy digital filters on
Where they
things
were
to
just
create.
Instagram filtering
They were
the
Instagram
fuck out of movies.
filtering the
Yeah, yeah.
film, and so it was to create all of this like kind of it was like 2000s was filled with orange and green filters on
Right.
everything. And here's a movie that I think has used the whatever the washout Instagram filter
Yeah.
is to kind of
Yeah.
create it almost perfectly black and white. So now they're, they hear banging upstairs in Dalton's room. They run upstairs. They have to like knock in the door, and the whole room is trashed, and
This
Dalton
is
is on the floor.
crazy.
Yeah.
You're like, explain this away, Josh.
If that is your real name.
I don't know, you're too busy grading the Great Gatsby essays to pay attention to what the fuck is going on in your house.
And mom says, I know someone who can help if you're willing to ask.
What is this, like a deal with the devil?
And we meet Specs and Tucker.
Oh, here we go. Nerds.
Fucking nerds. Just nerds that argue about every fucking thing.
I mean, it's like the comic book guy from The Simpsons come to life and split into two people.
Yeah.
And honestly, at this point in the movie, we need a little bit of lightness,
Agreed.
which I love about James Wan. Like there is it again, it's straight man camp.
Yeah.
Like there's a bit of a laugh
Mm-hmm.
is necessary in Act 3. You need a gravedigger scene
Mm-hmm.
because Hamlet gets so fucking bleak. You need to be reminded. They're like, hey, I know we're in this story, but there is also like some humor that can be found even in the depths of all of this.
This made me when these two guys appeared, I instantly thought of Poltergeist, of course,
Yeah.
but also I thought of Silence of the Lambs when she goes to
Yes.
talk to the guys who study
Yes.
moths. Like those guys like are great because there is some levity. They're fun. They're clowns.
Yeah.
So these two guys, Specs and Tucker. Specs is played by Lee Wanell, who we've seen his previous movies before. Wait, we said that I said this on the last one, but
He
now I
also
have to.
Wrote this movie,
Yeah,
right?
he's also the writer of this movie. Hold on just a second. I have to because I um yeah, because he is close friends with James Wan, and so he worked on Saw and
Yeah.
the Insidious, most of the Insidious movies, and he directed The Invisible Man, which we did for this
Oh, that's
show.
right. That's right. God, fuck that movie. That movie's so tense. I
That
hate
movie is
like
really
like
fucking
I'd
tense.
unclench my jaw 3 days later.
That is not a YA film. That is not a simple,
No.
easy afternoon watch.
No.
So we've got these ghost hunters. They've got all of the
They've got
EMF
like
machines and
homemade like I don't even know.
the
It's not
viewfinder. Remember the viewfinder as a kid, the little
s-
click click
like
photo
I'm
reel?
trying to think like okay, like if steampunk, it's not steampunk.
No,
Like what is this? Where it's like lots of knobs and gears and it kind of looks retro but like 80s retro?
it's MacGyver, right? It's like
Yeah.
it's
Pre-digital.
it feels like as a kid when you were like when you're just experimenting with, all right, what happens if I combine orange juice with my mom's Diet
Sure.
Coke
Yeah.
and then I top it with milk? What does that take? Like you're just
Yeah.
basically slapping a bunch of shit together. And in this reality of this film, this guy has taken one of those classic old school viewfinder circle
Yeah.
things and like put different colors in it and
Yeah.
then attached it to the front of a camera so it can detect ghosts at different
Yes.
radiation points.
Sure.
That's what's happened. You imagined that like I combined all of these things into a cup and I've made this magical
Yeah.
elixir. That's how potions
And he's
work.
got like, some sort of EV
Uh-huh.
electric frequency
Sure.
meter. Because
Hmm.
he's like, ghosts are, again, like I said, ghosts are really just bad electricians. They
Yeah.
hang out near janky wiring,
Yeah.
apparently.
These two boys work for Elise Rainier, who is an old friend of Lorraine's. Elise is great. I love her introduction. She's the most like just suburban friend of your mom
I
ever.
know she comes well, and like these two are kind of setting up. They're like, "Oh, we're here to like weed out the crackpots." Haha, that's not you. I mean, it might be you, but we'll find out.
Yes.
But they're very like nerd boy serious. Yeah, and Elise is like she's all in like her light little scarf, like she shops at Talbot's. You know,
Yes. Yes.
like she has a book club.
Uh-huh.
Like they like just the most innocuous, and you're like, oh, this is not you know, this house is clean poltergeist, which was going into the like psychics and clairvoyants are unusual people. This is like, no, normal people, people that we perceive as normal can be psychic, which is going to be very important to this plot later
Yeah.
because we have a closeted psychic in the building.
Right. Right. Yeah, she's talking to him like, "Oh, Josh, I haven't seen you since you were this big." That type
He's
of
like, you
shit.
met me? Oh my
Which,
God.
yeah, which I do love that it sort of belies like her extreme seriousness and
Yeah.
skill. So one of the things she does is she has like Specs is also an artist, so he brings a sketchbook. Specs's job, one of his primary jobs, is to kind of interpret everything Elise either sees. So he either through him drawing what she
Yeah.
describes, or during the seance we'll see later, she's
Or
like
through
wearing a
auto writing.
yeah yeah. He's got to like interpret what she's saying and write it
He's
all
just doing
down.
some free form, some fictional journaling. He read The Artist's Way and he's doing his morning pages
Yep, yep.
for her.
When they get to that seance and she has to wear a gas mask,
What the fuck?
okay, that is like the viewfinder bit. Like they found some props at
Why a
Hollywood Prop
gas?
Central
Like, why is that gas mask necessary?
because it's creepy.
Because it's creepy. And also, this movie is obsessed with.
Yes, yes, yes.
Because we get two of these from Elise. The first one, she's doing an initial walk through the house, and she's like, "Oh, this place is fucking haunted as fuck."
Yeah.
But we're gonna do a nice little walkthrough. She's like, you can see it in her eyes. She's like, ugh. It's like when you walk into somebody's house and it's like dirty enough that you're like, oh, I'm never eating food from this person ever again.
Uh-uh.
Like you can just tell you're like,
Uh-huh.
you're rethinking your relationship to that person now that you've seen their home space. You're like, uh-oh, I question how you were raised and how you live your life as a human. She's walking around like that. But
I,
when she gets into Dalton's room, she's like, no, leave the lights off. And like Specs is doing his drawing thing. And again, it's like, even though the camera is really intimate with these two, the audio is not.
yeah.
It's, and then I get these yellow eyes.
Uh-huh.
Like you can only make out fragments of words
Right.
as she's staring down something on the goddamn ceiling.
Yeah. Pitch black eyes, like two dark holes, hooves for feet, lipstick fucking everywhere. Yeah.
Ma'am, you've got drag queens.
Yeah. But like really bad ones.
You've got season 3 winner of RuPaul's Drag Race haunting your house. I don't know who was that. Sharon Needles? That's wrong. I don't know.
Probably. And Elise this basically tells them, your son's not in a coma and the house is not haunted. It's your son that's haunted.
Oh.
So Dalton is a very accomplished astral projector when
Oh.
he can drift his soul can drift out of his body and he's been doing this in his sleep for a long time. He thinks they're just dreams.
I have a question.
Hmm.
Can I include that? Can we include that on his college entrance exam as a special
Absolutely,
skill?
absolutely. As
Because
special interest. Yeah, there's got to be a club he could join.
I think like this whole experience is just really just fodder for when that kid goes off to college. It's
Hmm.
like, dear, insert college name here.
Hmm.
When I was 9,
Hmm.
a demon tried to enter my body.
Yes.
because I was astral projecting and I got a little too big for my britches and a demon tried to steal my body. But my dad also astral projects and he took me home. And then another demon took over his body and tried to kill my whole family. And that's why I want to go to UCLA.
So, yeah, we learned that he drifted out of his body because
Too
of
far.
these demons have been wanting to get he's been drifting for so long that the demons have found him.
And he
And
just thinks he's dreaming and he's leaving his body unattended. It's like kind of the dibs, you move your feet, you lose your seat version of paranormal activity.
and the demons are waiting for him to be at his most they're waiting for him to be at his most vulnerable and then somebody can claim his body. So you get the sense that maybe the demons are like all just swarming around it, like vultures circling.
Yeah. But also, they've been doing this for months. Like,
Yeah, how much
how
weaker
much?
does he have to get?
Yeah. Like, he's in a fucking coma,
Magic coma, though.
magic coma.
So she says, Elise is like, I need your complete trust to try this crazy idea. And Josh is like,
This is
absolutely
so,
not. See you later.
yeah. She's I also hate it when movies like, well, there's like, like Renee is like in tears, like, oh my God, I can't believe this. You've told me all this crazy information, astral projection. My son is in the further, whatever the
The further,
further
yes.
is.
Yes.
Okay, cool. And Elise is like, well, there is one thing we could try.
such a great, such a great, just movie trope. Like all other
It's a
options.
long shot,
I
but
know
there
you're not
is
supposed to
one thing
cross the streams,
that I
but
have all the equipment for in my van right now. But it's like 100 to 1, man.
yeah.
But yeah, Josh flips out for no apparent reason.
But what's going to turn him around is even the more wild and
Oh my
oft
God.
used horror trope, which is
Yes.
he goes to see Dalton at night. It's like, show me you can hear me, buddy. And then a picture falls off the wall.
Oh,
And there's a whole bunch of crayon drawings he has
oh
done
my
that they have
God.
never noticed of these
No,
red
they've
and
looked
black
at a
faced
million times.
demons.
That now seems creepy as fuck.
And he's
I,
written in large crayon lettering, last night I watched myself sleep, then I flew away.
you're right, Jeffrey. That is one of the best horror movie tropes is re-examining the childhood drawings and finding the clues to the entire thing.
I slow
Like it,
clapped. I
it
was like,
happens
yes.
so much.
Yeah.
Like once you see it, you realize how many times, especially in horror movies, they're like, oh no, we ignored the kids. And then we look at their drawing, this piece of shit where
Uh-huh.
the sun is brown and the trees are purple. And then we look at it again. We're like, maybe they're living in a universe where the sun is brown and they're kidnapped by demons. If only we had listened to the children.
Yep. Again, bringing back to my restaurant analogy is this that like this is not the 8 course prefix like
No,
fancy shit where we're using all the
no,
weirdo
this is
chemicals.
spinach and queso dip app.
Yep.
This is a bacon blue cheese burger
This is
with
truffle fries.
with truffle fries and then a lava cake for dessert. It is tight, it is out of sight, it is delicious, it is under $40.
Yeah. And everything was well done. Not a
Yeah.
soggy fry in the bunch.
Nope.
Burger was cooked as it should be cooked. It was not
Yep.
overdone.
With
The
like an IPA on the side. Like,
the bun had structural integrity. Like
yep.
everything worked perfectly. And it was the right amount of food. I
That's
left
it.
neither hungry nor
Nope.
bloated.
And you also can eat there like once every 2 weeks because it's not, like a $500 million crazy,
Right. Yes.
like it's affordable, it's delicious. It's not the most exciting, but it's exciting enough that you go, damn, that was a good meal.
Yes. Yes. At no point did I rethink how horror movies work.
No,
I never rethought film or
it's not
storytelling.
Alinea. It's not
No,
the Alinea of horror films,
no, this
which
is not some Gus
this is
Van
not
Sant
Long
joint.
Legs. This
Yeah,
is not Skidamarink.
yeah. Sorry, I said Gus Van Sant. I meant Lars von Trier.
Yes, no.
Okay. Well, because he saw the child's drawing, now he has a change of heart. So Elise is back in. They're gonna do her plan. Okay, let's just kind of walk through the tropes in this one. Well,
Uh-huh.
one, not a trope at all, which I love. She's wearing this gas mask with
Wild.
one of the tube of the gas mask is not hooked to a tank. It's hooked to Spex's ear so that he can hear her whispering, which I'm
Yeah.
like so imaginative and stupid. This is
Yeah.
like Steven Spielberg discovering I can't show the shark, so I'm going to use yellow buoys in the water to
Yes.
demonstrate it.
Yep.
This is a thing where James Wan is like, I need to up the creepy of the seance.
Yes.
Gas mask, one of the scariest things you can wear.
And then they do the thing where they have like her point of view of the room through the gas mask eyes, like
Uh-huh.
in My Bloody Valentine. So you
Yep.
get that claustrophobic feel. So it's like two horrors in one.
Yep.
My favorite, my favorite horror trope of this scene is the old-timey flash bulbs.
Yes. Because the
Because here's the
camera's
thing.
going off every time it senses a ghost.
Here's the thing, y'all.
Uh-huh.
I am old enough and I was into photography long enough.
Uh-huh.
You have a limited number of those.
Yes.
They're not infinite. They're not like your iPhones where you can just turn on the flashlight and it just goes until the battery runs out. No, no. Each one of those has maybe three in them.
Yeah, I remember I had an old camera from my grandfather, and it had like you had
The
to
strip.
buy had the
Yeah.
strip of flashes and you had to
And then
buy
you would
it and you
screw it on the top.
yep,
Yeah.
and then when it went off each one so you would have like it was like a cartridge of 8 bullets or 8
Yeah.
flashes and you would see each bulb turn kind of like charcoal when it was
Yeah.
done because it's basically a tiny little explosion of gas to
Yeah.
create the flash
It's like a
and
little
that bulb's
chemical
done.
explosion,
Yeah.
but I
Anyways, yes,
love it.
agreed. I love
But
it too.
again, it's not it's like I don't know, it's like 20th century punk. Like I don't
Yeah.
it's like we're just going to take a whole bunch of shit from the 80s and 90s and we're
Yeah.
like it's now spooky technology.
Yeah. It's a little bit of like kind of a different version of kind of like Gen X retro stuff, like
Yeah.
just digging through just digging through your grandparents' house and finding weird shit to play with like when you grew up in the 80s.
Listen, do you know what my favorite thing to play with when I was growing up?
Hmm.
Like all my action figures, because my parents were like, we're not buying you the like $300
Right.
Palace play set. My dad gave me the hollowed out shell of a transistor radio, and it was perfect because it was big,
Uh-huh.
it was indestructible, it had weird wires and knobs,
Yep.
and it was like and it was like essentially like a two-story Barbie dream house for nerds
I
that
used
fit Smurfs and He-Man and G.I. Joe into.
I used to take shoe boxes and tape them together and
Perfect.
cut them up and just make like like little condo
Oh, you're
buildings
like a
sort of
diorama
things.
kid. Yeah.
Yeah. And but just for the mishmash of different action figures that
Yeah.
I had. Yeah. Yeah, He-Man riding one of the My Little Ponies was just like a kind of standard thing.
That was it. I mean,
Yeah.
for me, it was like a land speeder,
Oh, sure.
that
Yeah.
exploded, and then I would have to ask my mom to put it together because I could explode it, but I couldn't figure out how to put it together again until she went, if you bring this to me one more goddamn time, I'm throwing this in the garbage. Learn to do it yourself, Cecil.
Um, I forgot to mention earlier when Tucker was like using his like made up UV detector
Hmm.
camera thing. There's a moment when he sees these two like twin doll girls smiling at him next to the grandfather
This
clock.
is the most Ryan Murphy of it all.
Yes.
Like, and it's like, because he's doing his little meter reading, and it's fine, and then he gets near that goddamn grandfather clock. And he's like, oh, the EV meter is showing some activity. And there's two 1950s looking ladies
Hmm.
that snap into evil smile.
That's how he knows, yeah, you guys aren't cuckoo. This house is real
Yeah.
fucked up or something's real fucked up here. But during the seance, Elise is saying like, we're calling out to you, Dalton. Tell us where you are. Who's there? And she's like, follow my voice, Dalton. He says, if they hear me, they'll hurt me. And Dalton is like, be quiet. They'll hear you. Oh shit, they heard you.
They've heard
Help,
you too.
help, help, fuck. And then we hear, you bitch, she's
What
repeating
she's
what they're
and yeah,
saying.
he's writing. It's like I know who you are, bitch.
I will
I
rip
will
you out
rip
your
out your
innards.
guts
Yeah.
and put
And
them on my face.
and then that camera is like all the flashes, pew, pew,
So many
pew, pew.
flashes.
And and then suddenly Dalton appears at their table and just
Jumps.
jump scare, just flips the fucking table.
Yeah.
Everyone flies across the room.
Yeah. This is very Sam Raimi, this
Uh-huh.
sequence. Like
Yep.
it's very Drag Me to Hell when they do the seance sequence there.
Yep.
Because it's this like pandemonium. It's also very The Exorcist, where you have like essentially a 10-year-old backhanding a full-grown man across the room.
Yes. And eventually, oh yeah, and Nick Cave shows back up and he like grabs Renee and is like trying to lick her.
Yeah. Again, okay.
What? Why? Again,
How?
yeah, it's slapping together horror tropey things, right? It's just that's a creepy image of
Yeah,
a greasy ghost man trying to lick a woman's face.
right. It doesn't matter how or why.
Doesn't
Why can the
matter.
ghost suddenly touch them when before they could just like move furniture? We don't
Yeah.
know.
How
It's
how
just the way
how are all
things
these
are.
ghosts related? Who's the dancing boy? What's his fucking
Did
deal?
they live in the house? In this house? Did they live in the previous house? Are they just
They're
like
just
glitter?
from
Like
the
once you have
further
glitter on you, they're just sort of you carry them. It's like the
track it
herpes of the
everywhere.
ghost world.
Yep. So Elise is like, y'all turn the lights on, and she shouts at Dalton, leave this body now.
Leave this vessel. Leave this vessel.
Then everything comes to a halt, and Dalton is out cold but still alive. Um, the cameras, when Tucker goes to the video, like the cameras turned up nothing in their photos, but on
Yeah.
the camcorder video, again, this was like, what did we watch for Patreon a couple months ago? Ganjam Haunted Asylum, like
Oh, yes.
only the
Like
like
only if you go back on the video, like frame by frame, can you see the ghost.
and you see the red face, the lipstick faced man standing behind Dalton at one moment in time. Like puppeting him, like grabbing like
Yeah.
he was moving him to knock things around. Which I thought was very clever, but the more I thought about it, the more it felt really funny to me.
You know. Well, especially once we see the red lipstick face demon's lair, we know he likes makeup, he
Uh-huh.
likes long nails, and he likes puppets.
He should go on Drag Race.
I really think I think you've just been haunted by a drag queen. Like, honestly, go to Hamburger Mary's and exercise that demon.
Mhm.
Get it to perform bad romance at 11 o'clock in the morning on a Sunday for a bunch of bachelorette parties. Demon be gone.
So this is where we learn from Lorraine that the reason she knows Elise is because Josh is also a gifted traveler. And we realize at this point those dream sequences of the boy in bed are not Dalton, they are Josh when he was a boy.
Yes.
And he was terrified of an old woman who had come to visit him at night. Lorraine didn't believe him till she saw for herself, and she kept a collection of old photographs showing this creepy woman always in the background of photos with Josh. And each photo, this woman gets closer and closer to him.
Until she's like, just barely, just gonna touch it. She just wants to touch him.
She's like, and Elise says, this is why you're still afraid to have your photo taken, isn't it, Josh? Because Elise was the woman who was called in to help Josh when he was a boy, but he doesn't remember any of it, because he's avoidant and always goes off to the further.
He's just hanging out in the further
Uh-huh.
all for hours and on end. We call that disassociating.
Yep. I mean, that's kind of it. There's some little bit of thesis horror here, which is
Yeah.
it's the person who's just avoidant, especially in a family dynamic. The plan now is to have Josh astral project into the further to go dig out Dalton. Again, very poltergeist.
Yeah.
Got to go into the slime ceiling
Yeah, that's it.
and rebirth rebirth this person.
That's it.
Um, if they realize you're not one of them, they'll come for you in the physical world because they'll know you're drifting off from a body that's wide open.
Yeah.
And there he goes into the further.
Yeah, the further.
Yeah.
Huh. A, well, he's got a lantern
You know,
and he's in the house, and
mhm.
then he's very much not in the house. He's
Yeah.
just on a pitch black soundstage.
Yep.
And
And
he's got
he
to somehow get from new house to old house
hmm
without using Google Maps
hmm
in the further maps,
hmm
without any kind, just wandering through the darkness
This makes so much
through
sense
Los Angeles
now that you
with
told me this movie had a budget of $1.5 million. It's so
yeah,
cheap that it makes total sense now. Some of the choices in the film, like the gas mask, but also like just the way they depict the further. It's, you know,
it's
we,
more
we were talking
empty.
about
It's
we were talking about the
void.
yeah, and we were talking about the movie of Wicked right before we started recording.
Yes,
And that is a movie that is maximalist in its
absolutely.
aesthetic and style. But Wicked also had an enormous budget.
Yeah.
And this is a movie with a tiny budget. So they're using like you using an emptied out old transistor radio or me building like
Yeah.
shoebox condos for my action figures. And I think that's what they have to do for a
But like we
$1.5
can't
million
afford
movie.
Castle Grayskull
No.
at Toys R Us.
But
So you're going to get a fucking shoebox kid and you're going to make the most out of it because you have an imagination.
And there's a warehouse full of old props that you can use whatever. And so they kind of did the chopped basket version of
Yeah.
this. Like you have to create a horror film using old camera flashes,
Yeah.
dollhouse or doll dresses,
And baby
a
monitors
gas mask, and a baby monitor. Go. And this is the movie he came up with.
and
And it's
packing and packing boxes from U-Haul.
yes. And he does such a great job of it. And here
Yeah.
he is in the darkness and he's wandering through essentially a haunted house. He sees himself as a child, he sees the creepy old lady moving around, but then he comes across this family in a living room
Well, he's in the old
in
house
the old house.
because
Yes.
like somehow he gets drawn there, which I think is funny. Like in my mind, like it's like the further in my mind should look like this realm that we're in. But the second he goes out the door, it's just darkness.
Hmm.
Versus in my mind, I imagine kind of like empty city streets,
Yeah.
but we don't have the money for that.
That's a $20
So
million film.
that no. That's the 28 days later.
Hmm.
Like we don't have time to get up and like at 5 o'clock in the morning and tape off
No.
commandeer Los Angeles streets for this production. Absolutely not. But he kind of makes his way to the old house and he's wandering around this old house. And Josh, God bless his heart, he's so pretty, but he did
Uh-huh.
not listen to the instructions terribly well
No.
because he is asking every person he sees, "Are you my son? Do you know where Josh is? Do you know where my son is?
Yeah, the whole thing was don't let them know you're there.
Are you my son?
Hmm.
Do you know? Oh, you're a psychopath that's going to murder your entire family? Oh, I don't think I need to be here. That's creepy and weird. I'm going to go look in another room of this house."
And I really love this haunted housey sequence. And I say haunted house in the way in which we walk through a haunted house. And
Yes.
it's nothing's going to, you get the sense nothing is, in a haunted house, nothing is going to
Yeah.
harm you. It is a safe space to just have,
You can't touch them. They can't touch you.
it's just to have the shit scared out of you
Yeah.
or to give you the willies. And
Yeah.
that's what this scene does. It gives you the willies constantly. The thing that I really wish it was doing was creating a danger for him.
Mm,
And like you just said, like he's running around like making himself known. And my thought was, what if he was trying not to make himself known
right?
and he's trying to make sense of these crazy images he's seeing, but they discover him.
But also trying not to be seen by
Yeah.
them.
I just think there could be some more. I wish there was more danger in the scene. Is all I'm saying.
Yeah.
But it is creepy as shit. Uh, the crazy grins that this family has.
Yeah.
There's some story about a girl who is in this family who gunned her whole family down in the living room.
So I guess it is like it feels like there's a like it is like a weather vane to ghosts
Yeah.
in the is it house specific? Never explained. Again,
No.
it's like, is this like, American Horror Story season one,
Hmm.
where it's like, oh, this house has these ghosts
Yeah.
in it.
Yeah.
This is the history of this house, but it's not, is it?
I think the thing that it
Or
sort of
does it
evoked,
even matter?
it probably doesn't matter. I just sort of assumed that the house was sort of haunted
Yeah.
and that it probably is some form of like a minor hellmouth sort of thing. Like it's
Yeah.
a subway exit
Yeah.
for
It's like it's
ghosts.
an Amityville kind of
Yeah.
thing where there's like something really bad happened here a long time ago.
Yeah.
And ever since then, people have a tendency to go crazy
Yeah.
in this. It just attracts psychopaths, murderers, and people who love Tiny Tim.
Yeah. Yeah. It's the entrance to the subway to hell sort of
Yeah.
thing. Yeah. And anyways, he makes it to the attic. He makes it to the attic. There's the hold on, I've got to pause. It is just giant emergency everywhere in Brooklyn today.
Oh no.
Just and I know Zoom doesn't pick it up, but man, this is loud outside.
Honk, honk,
I don't know what it
honk,
is. If
honk.
I think sound does travel in cold, dry air
Oh yeah.
quickly or more clearly and further, but something about like when it gets to wintertime, there's just more fucking
Well, it's because there's no leaves on the trees.
yeah,
There's
I guess,
no
and
there's no
it's
grass,
dry.
there's no leaves, there's no
Yeah,
like all that sort of
you're right.
cushion.
You're right. That's right.
That sound deadening is gone.
Yep.
It's all dead.
All right. I think I can fight through this now. I think we're good. He makes it to the attic door, and it's the red door, like Dalton drew in his
Wait,
fucking
like
pictures.
in Revlon?
Yes.
No, what no, is Revlon? No, what is the
uh, Revlon.
Arden Revlon? Is that
Is
it?
it
What is the red door? Oh shit.
is it Estee Loud? No.
Oh shit. I gotta look this up now.
And we can reset that joke. Leave this for YouTube to see us how we pause for things.
Red door. Me no. Oh my god. It's literally it's like you want to look up Insidious. Red door cosmetics. Elizabeth Arden.
It is Elizabeth Arden. Okay,
Yeah.
great. So let's reset that joke, Cecil. So he makes it to the attic door, and it is the red door, just like in Dalton's pictures.
It's like Elizabeth Arden. Like
Right. That's very clever. I love that. But Nick Cave is there, and he tries to stop him,
it's
and he
like
starts kicking.
WWE Nick Cave though.
He's so Triple H in this
It's like
moment,
the
so silly.
Undertaker,
The Undertaker, yes.
Nick Cave, Pirates of the Caribbean.
Yep. And in the living room where the real people are, there you can see Josh having a struggle, and Elise is like, "You're stronger because you are the one who's alive." And then he fully blasts Nick Cave.
Hadouken!
Yeah, he does it with his palms, like,
He literally Hadouken! Across the room that ghost goes.
and inside the red door, he finds Dalton. But then we hear tiptoe through the tulips.
I listen. I'm sure they get into this in the other movies that I have not seen, but I want to see a full walkthrough of this demon space
Uh-huh.
because it like I don't know how to describe it, but it's like it's giving me finance bro who bought a loft space and does it and has more money than taste.
Yes.
Like I'm going to buy a giant sculpture of a horse for
Uh-huh.
my foyer.
Yeah.
And then I'm going to have a hallway that's painted black that's entirely red candles.
Uh-huh.
And then I'm going to have a big giant loft space with like a giant four-poster bed, silk sheets, because, for the sexing.
Yeah.
And then I'm going to have a little like man cave workspace in which I literally just have Lady Gaga fingers that I'm sharpening while I jam out to Tiny Tim.
You know what he was missing was a Nagel print on the wall, which I
Uh-huh.
have. My
Yes.
it won't show up on the
Oh,
screen. My
yes. No,
Nagel
I
mug.
absolutely. Yep.
Yep.
Hmm.
Yeah, he needed a Nagel print on the wall just to be
Yep.
perfect. But yeah, he's got dolls. He's got a I okay, I don't remember what I wrote here. I wrote red-faced man is working on grinder. What does
See,
that
I'm telling you,
mean?
gay as fuck.
Was he grinding? Was he
He's grinding his fingernails,
That's what he's doing. Okay.
which is not what Grinder is used for.
That's a different
Is
app.
this movie accidentally one of the gayest horror movies? Like this and The Babadook.
Hmm.
Like they accidentally made a gay horror film, but they didn't even know it.
Could
Is
be.
this the most camp gay movie we've covered on the show?
I mean, with the name Lipstick Face Demon, it's hard to imagine that it was unintentional.
Lipstick face. You've got eye candy Patrick Wilson.
Hmm.
I mean, like honestly, we could have included him in his boxer shorts if we really wanted to like make it gay camp.
Very true. Very true. Yeah, there's got to be something to that. Um,
It's got just a whiff. There's just a whiff of queerness about it.
yeah. Okay. Also, like the first two things I ever saw Patrick Wilson in were when he plays Joe in Angels in America,
Yes. Yeah.
and then as what's his head in Phantom of the Opera. So
Oh, he was in Phantom the movie Phantom of the Opera?
wasn't he Raoul in
Oh
Phantom?
shit. I never
Wasn't that?
saw did I see that movie? I don't remember. I mean, I saw like the
Yeah.
first time I was like, who the fuck is this? Was Hard Candy with
Okay.
him and Elliot Page. And I was like,
Okay.
this movie, I feel dirty. But this movie is like these two actors are so fucking good.
Hmm. Um, yeah, it looks like Phantom of the Opera was like only his like second film.
Oh, interesting. And then I read that he actually was nominated for a Tony for the Broadway version of The Full Monty.
Wow.
So this is like a crazy talented dude.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, like amazing actor, yes, but also like we're talking, he's the full package,
Yeah.
like the stage and screen. And then
Yes.
he's going to be in fucking Aquaman
Oh, great.
just riding
Get
those seahorses.
Yeah, get that check. Well, lipstick faced man starts beating the shit out of Josh. Josh grabs Dalton, starts to run. They're going through the darkness. They're passing the creepy ghost trying to block them.
But the ghosts just like flash mob them.
Yeah, they really do. It reminded me of Silent Hill, right? Like when you're trying to
Yeah.
run through the group of like creepy nurses or
Yeah.
whatever. And Renee's like, Josh, follow my voice, Josh. Dalton's like, Daddy, I can hear mommy.
This so dumb.
Yeah, yeah.
So dumb.
Uh-huh.
Because he makes it back to the house.
Right?
I should say we put a clock on it because meanwhile, in the real world, the ghosts are getting through the further into so the ghosts are like just picking people up, throwing shit around. The ghosts are getting further and further into our world.
Yeah.
So we know there's they got to hurry.
Yes. I mean,
They get through the house.
uh-huh.
They get into the house, puts Dalton down. Dalton presumably runs off to rejoin his own body, and Josh gets a little sidetracked. Josh decides, you know what? I'm going to stop in the kitchen and make myself a ham sandwich. Just real quick.
Yeah, I couldn't understand why he gets separated from Dalton, but I guess the idea is he figures now is the time to confront the old woman.
Right. Well, and it's the thing of like, he's repressed so much.
Yeah.
Like he's this guy who just like zones out and doesn't really know why. He calls it dealing with it his own way. And now he's like, it's 35 years of that has built up.
Uh-huh.
And he sees the evil woman, the ghost woman, who I think is another demon. It's like she's more than a ghost. Like
Yes.
like she's not, like one of these corporeal ghosts, which seems like haunted house. No, she's like true evil demon.
Yeah.
And he's like confronting her. He's like, you have no power over me. Get the fuck out of my dream world, you
Yeah.
bitch. And she just sort of retreats into the darkness. So we're like, oh, thank God.
Yeah.
That was easy.
Okay. So he goes to confront this old woman demon thing, and I wrote down that he shouts, "I'm not scared. What do you want?" But then Renee is shouting, "Josh, come back to us. Follow my voice." She's surrounded, and then Josh finally gets back into his body. So does Dalton. We're all awake.
Yeah.
We're all good.
Problem solved, Jeffrey. The end.
Or is it?
No.
No,
Well, Dalton is sitting with mom and grandma, and he's eating spaghetti and he's laughing and he's like super hungry.
because
So
he's
this
been in a
kid
magic
is,
coma.
he's been in a magic coma, so he's starving.
I just kept thinking, like, how is he standing? Because you have like
Oh
over
my
three
God,
months
the
of
muscle
muscle
atrophy.
atrophy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Especially at that age. Like I knew a friend who like he broke his leg when he was around maybe a little bit older, maybe like 12,
Mhm.
and like had a cast on his leg. And legit to this day, this grown ass man, his legs are visibly two different sizes
Wow.
because it happened during a growth spurt. So maybe this kid's a little young for that, but
Yeah. Oh my God. Yeah. Well, um, there's a moment where Josh tells Elise, like, I guess I can get rid of these old pictures right now.
oh, that's
And
nice.
she's like, well, she has this thought and the
Yeah.
she grabs
Grabs
the
the digital
instant digital
camera.
camera, reaches up, snaps a photo, and he freaks the fuck out.
Why did you do
Why
that?
the fuck would you do that? Why would you? And then he chokes Elise out
Oh no. To death?
to death while
To death. While me, this is what's crazy. This okay, so they go
Mhm.
from this giant house that is too fucking big. We got a baby monitor, like they're running all over this goddamn place. The second house is small, one story. Like we go through this house so many times, like on this loop. This house is like two bedrooms tops.
Mhm.
So you're telling me that you didn't hear your husband choking to death this nice old lady who shops at Shoe Carnival
Or even him
from one room
shouting, "Why
over?
the
Yeah.
fuck would you do that?" Or he didn't say fuck because it's PG-13, but he's like,
Yeah.
"Why would you do that? Why are you?" Like he screams at her. And
Sus.
Renee,
That's suspect.
yes, Renee runs to the house. Oh, Renee comes out and finds dead Elise's
Dead
body
Elise.
in the living room. She's looking for Josh. She can't find him, and then she sees the camera on the floor, and it's still got the picture up on the view screen, and it's supposed to be Josh, but it's the old woman. And then Josh appears, and he's like, "Babe, I'm right here." And she turns around, and it's like, the end.
Insidious! Loud jump scare title sequence.
Shall we rate this movie?
Yes, let's.
All right, let's start with approachability. If you're like me in horror squeamish, like how approachable is this movie? Like on a scale of 1 to 10, with 1 being like not at all approachable and 10 being very approachable for the horror squeamish out there. Like I'm gonna give Insidious like I think like 6 out of 10 fucked up crayon drawings. I think it's probably I was almost like a 7, just because I it does feel like matinee horror to me. It's it's a haunted house adventure. It doesn't always make sense,
No.
like we were saying. Like it does, like the storyline doesn't.
But the tension is pretty taut
It's really good. It's
throughout.
really well done, and the jump scares are effective. Some of the creepy faces are a little like it's like gentle nightmare fuel. Like this stuff like this is not. It's
Can
not
I get that
as
on a t-shirt?
yeah, gentle nightmare. God damn it! Gotta add to the band's name document. Um, but yeah, it is gentle nightmare fuel. So it's not like The Grudge
No.
or even The Ring. Like
Yeah, no.
it's not J horror type of scares. It's Ryan Murphy
That's
type
it.
of creepy
It's
scares.
it's we are scared of things from the 1950s.
Yeah. Ryan Murphy, but for straight people.
That's exactly what it is.
Yep. I
James
like
Wan.
yeah. Ryan Murphy for straight people. Thank you for inventing that. I appreciate that so much. So and I would say like, I mean, content warnings is pretty simple, like just jump scares and the creepy specter stuff.
Yeah.
It definitely deals with like family tragedy. There's a supposition of like a family murder, possible suicide sort of thing happening at one point, but it's really not explicit at all.
No.
That's it for approachability. To speak nothing of approachability, how do you rate this as a horror film, Cecil?
It's a pretty darn good one.
Yeah.
Like like I think we covered it. It uses a little to make a lot.
Hmm.
It has the acting is solid. Like I mean, like the acting is really good. The script is really good. I mean, the color scheme of this movie makes me ill, and I think that's on purpose. It has. I was reading this interesting thing that this movie has like out of all the demonology movies, movies about demons, this is like one of the only movies that invented its own demons, which I find is interesting. Like it doesn't
Yeah.
do the traditional Solomon, Beelzebub kind of, the sort of arcanic demons.
Hmm.
They're like, no, no, no. It's gonna be like a lipstick face demon. It's gonna be like a wedding dress lady demon.
Uh-huh.
So respect for them. So, honestly, and then it spawned a fucking franchise and it spawned another franchise on top of that through The Conjuring. So I don't know. Yeah, 7 out of 10 um sharpened Lady Gaga claws.
Perfect. Before we move on to picking our next movie, I just wanted to mention we don't normally do like trivia at the end of the thing, but I did have to look up Joseph Bishara, who plays the lipstick face demon.
He's the composer, isn't he?
He's a composer. So he did sound design for Ghosts of Mars. He was the musical producer for Repo the Genetic Opera.
Oh shit.
Yeah. Um he's produced songs for like Tech Nine. Like he is all over the place as a musical producer and composer. And I guess friends with James Wan he was asked to do this role, which he reprised in chapter two, and then also was asked to come play Bathsheba in The Conjuring.
What? They're like,
So
hey, we love your music. It's amazing. We're gonna absolutely, but your face is really scary.
yeah,
Can we
so
put
good.
you in this movie?
Unbelievable. All right, let's figure out what movie we are going to watch next. Cecil, you've got a scare die, I've got a style die. We will roll those up and see what movie fits those two things. On your scare die, Cecil, if you roll a one, our next movie scare is mythological. Two, wild card. Three, conspiracy. Four, alien. Five, paranormal. Or six, a psycho killer. What's our scare?
That's a one.
Mythological.
I gotta say,
Psycho.
mythological is one of my favorites.
I like it a lot too. Psycho Killer is entering. This is week
We
16
are
on our
never gonna watch
list.
that cycle.
Oh,
We'll watch it next week.
it's
The week after.
maybe.
We'll roll it. We'll roll it soon. I
So,
promise.
well, can't promise, but you can also. I mean, a law of averages says we should get to a six
The
again
math
sometime
is
soon.
mathing.
Yep. All right. I will roll for style. If I roll a one, it's got to be based on a book. Two, it's got to have a one-word title. Three, it's a sequel, a prequel, or a remake. Four, it's got to be set in New York, New York. Five, it's got to be from the 2000s. Or six, it is a splatter film. What have we got here? Mythological meets five, 2000s.
Oh, fun. The year 2000 to 2009 was how I defined this.
Yes, yes. Kind of in the same way I would say the 90s or 1990 to 99.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, so we put a few down that we thought would match this, and we're at Random Horror 9 on Letterboxd, and you can see all of the possible die roll matchups. Then you can add comments if we're missing some movies that would fit there. But let's start with the ones that we put on here. I think I put these down, so I will run through them. One is Pan's Labyrinth,
Oh, yeah.
lots of mythologically creaturey
Evil
things.
fairies,
Yeah,
or maybe evil fairies.
yeah. And the one dude with eyeballs on his palms going, bleh.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I put down Mothman prophecies. Mothman is
Yeah.
Mothman is a
Again, it's like I love that
appellation.
because it's kind of well, I think it's more like urban legend mythological.
Yes, which I felt like fits pretty well,
Sure, I'll
right?
buy it.
Yeah. Trick or Treat. Got some
Yeah.
werewolves v vampires
Oh,
happening.
very much.
Shadow of the Vampire. This is one that you've seen that is now back available
It is
streaming.
available. I was like, and it's kind of also about like the film, it's the making of the film Nosferatu,
The F.W. Murnau
but what if a
1922
real
film.
vampire?
Yes. And finally, Constantine, which is
Yeah.
demon
It's
from
demons and angels and
yeah.
all that sort of good stuff.
And this was one that was sort of controversial because it's based off of a graphic novel.
And it strayed away from the source material.
Yes, yes.
It's not a bad movie. It's just different.
Uh-huh. Well, let's figure out what folks on Letterbox had to say about this topic and see what they had to add to
Let's
it
see.
here.
Mitch Silver recommends Pens Labyrinth. Danico Ray recommends Darkness Falls from 2003, assuming evil tooth fairies count
Uh-huh.
as mythology. Oh, I had seen Dark. I think I saw Darkness Falls like in the theater when it came out.
Okay.
It's a fun one. It's a fun summertime. Like, oh, this movie makes no sense, but what a fun romp.
Yeah.
Monstrum. Oh, this is a hit. Underworld.
Okay.
2003. A war rages between factions of werewolves and vampires. Monstrum, that's a solid one. I can't believe I didn't think about that one because I'm going to tell you why I like this suggestion. Because vampires, werewolves, classic, but it also is like in a very like Romeo. It's Romeo and Juliet, but with vampires and werewolves. But then it is the most early 2000s movie. Like
Uh-huh.
just the aesthetic of it is so spot on for that decade.
Yeah.
So
And
love
it's
that suggestion.
top-notch Kate Beckinsale.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Ganymede's Cup recommends Wendigo from 2001, psychological folk horror indie. The
Yep.
Legend of the Wendigo, a beast from Indian folklore who is half man, half deer, and can shape it change itself at will. So that
Hmm.
sounds interesting. I know that
Yeah.
the Wendigo myth has been used in different pieces and parcels over the
Yeah.
years in horror films. Creepy Hosta, Seconds Trick or Treat.
Hmm.
Suspicious Beans says it's a little tricky and only available on Roku. And a long-winded title. I love this. I love all the but Mermaid Chronicles Part 1 She Creature from 2001. In the 1900s, carnival workers in Ireland abduct a mermaid, planning to exhibit her in the US. Unfortunately, the mermaid is not on board, with this plan and decides to take a ship somewhere else. Two words, friends. And Rufus Sewell. Oh, I love me some Rufus
Okay.
Sewell. Okay, Mermaid Chronicles Part 1.
All right. It doesn't
Intrigued.
look like they made a part two from what I can tell, but maybe I'm wrong about that.
Uh-oh. King and Commenter recommends The Dark from 2005. Description. In mourning over the tragic drowning of their daughter, James and Adele are visited by Ebril, a young girl who claims she died 60 years ago
Oh,
and bears a startling resemblance to Sarah. Okay, okay, okay.
all right.
Sort of like a reincarnation ghosty kind of sort of thing.
Man, when a
Oh,
child tells you I died 60 years ago, get away from that child.
absolutely not. You back to daycare you go. Fifth Hammer recommends Rain of Fire. Y'all are pulling out these. Oh my God, these
Oh,
movies are so like again, 2002, 2003, peak naughties.
yes.
Rain of Fire, post-apocalyptic England, Matthew McConaughey and Christian Bale
Right?
team up to fight off a brood of fire-breathing dragons.
Incredible.
So it's like, oh, this movie was so dumb, and I watched it so many times because
That's so
honestly,
2000s as
it's the
well.
most because it's
Matthew
like
McConaughey and Christian Bale.
and it's like only Christian Bale. Like it's so like only Christian Bale can save the world because he was the
Yes.
first person who met. Oh my God, it's so dumb.
Uh-huh.
JB Wolf recommends Godzilla Final Wars from 2004. Ooh,
Okay.
this sounds like some good early
Hmm.
2000s Godzilla film. Cronenberg TA recommends Pan's Labyrinth or Hellboy. I also thought about putting Hellboy because that original one It's
Yeah.
very mythological and also very peak 2000s.
Yes.
Weaponized Toaster, Pan's Labyrinth, and if you're feeling Lovecraftian, Cthulhu from 2007.
That's definitely mythological. Yeah.
Absolutely. Seattle history professor draws back to his estranged family on the Oregon coast to execute his late mother's estate, makes discoveries regarding his father's New Age cult, which takes on a dangerous and apocalyptic significance. Oh, and also The Cult of Cthulhu from
Oh,
2005.
Call of Cthulhu.
Oh, excuse me, The Call of Cthulhu. This one I've seen. It's a lot of fun. A 2005 independent silent film adaptation of The Call of Cthulhu. Um, the first film adaptation of the famous Lovecraft story and uses mythoscope, a blend of vintage and modern filmmaking techniques intended to produce the look of a 1920s era film. And
Hmm.
the film is the length of a featurette, 47 minutes. I love this. I like when it came out, I was like, how fucking creative is this movie?
Hmm.
And it had been a long time since I'd seen anything adapted to H.P. Lovecraft that wasn't just pure, delightful trash. It was like, oh, you got this right.
Right.
Night Captive recommends Krampus from 2015.
Good news for
Uh,
you. We've already done it.
yeah, we already done it. Yeah, Krampus. Edmund Diedrich, Second Span's Labyrinth.
Yep.
Chuck I recommends Minotaur from 2006.
Oh.
When the villagers offer their brethren as a sacrifice to the Minotaur, Theo, Tom Hardy,
Oh,
sets
wow.
off on a harrowing quest to the labyrinth to kill the evil bull god.
Great.
Or Beowulf from
Right?
2007. Beowulf must fight and defeat the monster Grendel, who's terrorizing Denmark. Is this the like the CGI animated one?
Yes. Yes.
I don't know if I can do this.
No.
That CGI freaked me out. Where it's like Robin Wright, but not Robin Wright, and it's like Anthony Hopkins, but like it's just like they cartooned over their face. That shit freaks me the fuck out. Book of a
Yes.
Seconds Hellboy, and also recommends Constantine. Boom. How
Yep.
Do Monster, +1 for Pan's Labyrinth. Milja and Me, M. Night Shyamalan's The Village. I think many find this movie inadvertently comical, maybe, but it has haunted my nightmares ever since it came out. There's just something really uncanny in these weird leaf monsters. Absolutely agree.
I really enjoyed that
Milja.
movie. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, some of the, like, listen, some of the
Yeah.
acting choices, they are swinging for the stalls.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And Volatile Spider, Second Pan's Labyrinth, and Trick or Treat, and Evangelion 1.11. You Are Not Alone, 2007 film,
Okay.
in which children are put into giant horror robots to fight eldritch angel aliens and experience psychological trauma along the way.
Yeah.
Sounds like fun.
Yeah.
Also throws in Underworld and Blood and Chocolate. Oops, I fell in love with a werewolf and people are getting murdered.
That's a great description.
Sounds like my new Grinder profile description.
All right. So we got a lot of good
Oh,
ones to choose from. I think the ones we,
mythological
huh?
2000s.
Mythological in 2000s. Like, it's funny because, like, I feel like 2000s on the surface sounds like it's either a yes or no. Either it was made in the 2000s or it
Right.
wasn't. But I think some movies are more 2000s than
Yes.
other movies. Matthew McConaughey and Christian Bale fighting CGI dragons is
Oh,
one
yeah.
of the most 2000s things I've ever heard.
Yeah.
But then we have mythological, and some things are more mythological than other things. Um, Pan's Labyrinth feels very mythological
Yes.
in its structure, and it's very 2000s. Uh, I think vampires are definitely mythological. They feel like their own kind of like subset of horror in a way.
Yes.
So actually getting like creatures and monsters kind of off the beaten track might be interesting. Urban legend stuff like
I
Mothman
know
prophecies
here's the
is
thing. I've
interesting.
not seen the Mothman prophecy since it like came out. And I know it's like Richard Gere and a lot like Richard Gere on a highway in West Virginia. That's all I got. That's all I remember about this movie.
Yes.
And then he sees dead people or something.
I think one of the problems with Mothman Prophecy and watching this movie is going to be the fact that as of right now, it's only available on the Stars streaming service. It
Oh,
doesn't look like it's available for rental, and I'm not signing
absolutely
up
not.
for
I'm not
Stars.
signing for stars.
No.
Okay. I think there's really two that are like Honestly, there's two that are really piquing my interest,
Yeah.
and that's Pan's Labyrinth and Underworld. Just because they were both, I think they both like nail that early 2000s vibe. And
Yes.
one is the Guillermo del Toro art house crossover mainstream vibe,
Uh-huh.
in which fantasy horror kind of became cool for Hollywood to do. And the other is like Kate Beckinsale in black spandex falling in love with a really hot werewolf, and then Bill Nighy telling them that that can't ever be, and
Uh-huh.
then a million bullets exploding.
It's the question of, do you want to watch
Do I want classy or do I want trashy?
clashy or trashy? Uh, that's such a good question. We just
I
did
feel like did
Guillermo del
we
Toro about a
just
month
watched the
or so
Toro?
ago. And Underworld, I think, fits 2000s better than any film on this list, really.
I I think that I would
You,
vote for Underworld.
you'd vote for Underworld. I'm happy to lean Underworld because I think it's a little bit, I think the closest thing we've watched is the Russian, what was the
Is
Russian
Night
vamp?
Watch.
Night Watch. This looks of that
Yeah,
vein, like heavy
yeah,
CGI, very
yeah.
stylized action thriller more than scary
Very
horror.
action forward.
Yeah.
And it also has a like the mythology is not only the vampires and the werewolves, but it's like this long like these houses, two houses, both alike in dignity, going back hundreds of thousands of years. So it's like vampire werewolf slash. It's a blood vendetta. I'm into it.
Let's do Underworld, and it is available for rental wherever you rent your movies. Well, great. Thank you all for listening. Thank you, Cecil, for talking with me today. And if you have thoughts on Insidious or ideas for other movies that would have been good mythological horror films from the 2000s, let us know at Random Horror 9 on our Patreon or on our Instagram. But our Patreon, we have public discussion threads for every episode, and you can be a free member and still participate in those. So watch Underworld 2003 with us this week, and come on back next Tuesday for and hold on, let me reset that really quickly. Hold on 2 seconds here because I just want to mention and watch Underworld from 2003. Thank you, Monstrum, for that recommendation on our letterboxd. And come on back next Tuesday for a new episode. Have a restful night with no ghosts changing your Spotify to Tiny Tim or nothing. Boo.
Boo.